Hey guys, it's your boy Nighttails here, and it is finally here, part 2 of the What If the Demon Slayer Corps Had a Moon Hashira series. Now before I begin, I just want to say that I was shocked and blown away by the reception of the first one. I definitely didn't expect it to have, I think it's at 100 views right now. I just want to say thank you, and hey, let's just get right into it. Instead of demon slaying or recon for the mission or anything like that, we would actually start with a rather peaceful scene of Rengoku and Yoru eating together in a noodle bar. Yoru would laugh and say that he's actually really happy that of all the people that he could have been stuck on this mission with, that it was Rengoku, because Rengoku always knows where to find the best food. With a bright expression on his face, Rengoku would respond by saying that he might just have a nose for these things, which would make Yoru laugh some more and say that he definitely does, and that they need to go on more missions together if this is the Rengoku mission experience. Just then, a young demon slayer would walk into the room, who was obviously a little shaken up because he was in the presence of two Hashira, but nonetheless he would greet them accordingly, and Rengoku would invite him over to the table, and he would also order the same food they were having for him as well. The young demon slayer would praise them for their work last night for saving a young woman who was attacked by a demon, but Rengoku would simply say that they did not really do much because by the time they got there, the demon had already fled. But the young demon slayer would interject and say that if they hadn't arrived when they did, that the young woman probably wouldn't be alive right now, and that the doctor said that she'll recover fine with no scars, to which Rengoku and Yoru were visibly pleased. Rengoku would inquire of the bar owner on how business was going, trying to strike up casual conversation in a very kind, gentle-hearted way, but the conversation would be anything from casual. It would be very grim because their town had been suffering from a case of serial killings, one after the other. In fact, a conductor was just found dead on his train yesterday. This would spur the young demon slayer to let them know of the reason why he came. He had found the Mugen train. It was inside a shed of some sort, a train shed of some sort. And at hearing this, Rengoku would smile and get up and begin to leave the noodle bar. Yoru would get up as well, but not before ordering more food from the bar owner and then leaving the noodle bar. The young demon slayer would ask if they were going straight to the Mugen train, but Rengoku would say that he wanted to investigate the train station where the last conductor was murdered last night. But then Yoru would say that that's perfectly fine. We can just divide and conquer them. He would ask the young demon slayer to just point him in the general direction of the shed, and that he'll do the rest and he'll fight it himself. Now the young demon slayer found it a little perplexing to believe that he could just point him in the general direction and he would just find it, but who was he to question a direct order given to him by a Hashira? So he would point Yoru in the general direction of the train shed, and then Yoru would head off on his way. Everything that happened between Rengoku, the young demon slayer, and the people inside the train station would happen the same way as in the anime. Rengoku would meet the people selling the bento boxes. He would buy the bento boxes from them. He would get the paste bun in his face and all that. But yeah, all that happens the same way. But on Yoru's end, Yoru, while heading towards the train shed, would actually be thinking about what happened at the Hashira meeting. He would be thinking primarily about Tanjiro and Nezuko, which is when we would get a flashback to 8 years prior to a young 12-year-old Yoru wandering about the snowy mountains, seemingly lost, only to come across a man wearing what happens to be orange and black haori. And as he looked up, that man was a man we all know as Tanjiro Kamado, Tanjiro and Nezuko's father. He would have memories of being taken into his home, of being taken care of being fed, being given drink. He would have memories of the children in that home, but they always used to be just blurry images because it happened a long time ago and he couldn't really recall them properly. But after what happened at the Hashira meeting, two faces in that memory begin to clear up, Nezuko and Tanjiro's faces. And then the scene would shift to an 18-year-old Yoru revisiting the location but finding nobody there. Then the scene would shift back to the current time where Yoru was heading back to the train shed. He would begin to think to himself and contemplate on the chances that he would run into the children of the person that saved his life all those years ago. But then he would become a lot more solemn when he remembered exactly what became of that family. But then that is when he would snap out of it and tell himself that it's not time to think about that. He needs to focus on the mission. And in an attempt to push down those thoughts even further, he would crack open the takeout box he had bought from the noodle bar and begin to eat. And his thoughts were quickly consumed with just how delicious that food was. His pace began to quicken as he finished the food and tossed the box to the side, blitzing right past a train that seemed to be heading in the same direction. A train that, unknown to him, was housing Rengoku, who was also heading to the train shed. He would eventually arrive at the shed long before that train would have ever gotten there, and he would head inside to go look for the Mugen train. He would look for a while, but to no avail, because he would come to realize that there was no train in the train shed. He could not find the Mugen train. But then, one of the train conductors would walk in and ask Yoru what he was doing there. Yoru would casually tell a random lie about being part of some kind of authorities or police or whatever, and say that he was looking for the Mugen train. To which the conductor would tell him that the Mugen train isn't here. It had been taken into maintenance quite a while ago. Which is when Yoru would sigh and complain about how far he had to run and how fast he ran to get here. He then asked if the conductor would mind pointing him in the general direction of the maintenance building, but the conductor did him one better. He showed him a map. After 2 minutes of looking at the map, Yoru would finally get the location in his head, and he was about to head off before the conductor would ask him to wait a second, but by the time he turned to look at Yoru, he had already left the building. We now pan to Yoru running right down to the direction where the maintenance building was. His nose then twitched. Something was off. He could feel it. He knew exactly what this feeling was. It's a demon. As the maintenance building finally came into view for him, the feeling that he felt before got stronger and stronger, and he would squint to see if he could make out what was happening through the windows, which was when he would see Rengoku, who had his blade unsheathed, pointing it towards something. And once he looked at the thing that he was pointing the blade towards, he would notice a demon holding a human hostage. His face would then don a more serious look. Yoru was aware of how far away he was from the building. If something were to happen, he most likely wouldn't reach in time at this pace, which is when he would close his eyes and begin to take very deep breaths before saying in his head, "Total concentration." And as he said this, his pace, his strides would quicken, blitzing at strides thought impossible for human beings to achieve. The scene would then shift to inside the maintenance building, with Rengoku pointing his sword at the demon who held the hostage. The demon would try to brag about his speed, saying that a human could never reach him, demon slayer or not. He would move around and taunt Rengoku and say that if Rengoku is really a demon slayer, then shouldn't it be his job to cut his head off? Because if he doesn't take his head off, then this human that he's holding in his hand will be the one that's headless very soon. Rengoku would have a stern look on his face, but he did not swing at the demon, for fear of hitting the human in the process. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place, without much else to do but to wait for the right opportunity. But just then, as if from God himself, the opportunity Rengoku was praying for had shown itself. He would begin to see something coming towards the window that the demon was standing in front of at breakneck speeds, and Rengoku knew exactly what, or should I say, who that was. He would begin to smile, and the demon would take offense to this, asking if Rengoku has lost his mind or if he forgot that he's holding somebody hostage right now. And then Rengoku would keep the smile going and say no, that he's perfectly fine. He's just relieved. And the demon would ask him, "What do you mean by you're relieved? You haven't stopped anything. I killed somebody just last night. I am going to kill this person I'm holding right in front of you. And those bento boxes, I actually do remember who those bento boxes were being sold by, and I'm going to kill them too once I get out of there." And then Rengoku would actually laugh a bit, and then he would say, "That's kind of funny. You actually think that you're gonna make it out of this building alive?" And the demon would grimace at this, and he would get angry, and because of that anger, he would turn his attention to the grip he had on the hostage's chest. He would then squeeze it as if to rip his heart out, but that was exactly what Rengoku was waiting for. In an instant, Rengoku would blaze forward, slicing off both of the hands of the demon, releasing the hostage entirely. The demon, bewildered, would immediately try to make an escape, but before he could do anything, he would be perplexed by hearing the window behind him shatter. He would instinctively turn to try and see what was coming at him, but it was too late. Before he even realized what was happening, his head was flying off its body. The world would begin to turn upside down for him as his head fell to the floor and his body fell on the opposite side of it. And the last thing that he saw before he completely fading from this world was Yoru cleaning the blood off his blade. Rengoku would applaud Yoru, saying that he always knows how to make an entrance, to which Yoru would sigh and just say that he's just happy that all of them are okay. Or at least he thinks they're okay. Were there any casualties? And then Rengoku would then look at the person that was being held hostage and say no casualties. Some injuries though, but he'll be fine. Rengoku and Yoru would tend to the wounded man for a while before the demon slayers would come in and take him to go get treated properly. Later that night, Rengoku, Yoru, and the young demon slayer from the beginning would reconvene together at the same noodle bar. The young demon slayer would express his gratitude and thanks, saying that all's well that ends well, thinking that the mission was complete. But then Rengoku and Yoru would look at each other and then look back at the young demon slayer before letting him know that that was just the tip of the iceberg. That demon was only a distraction. The demon slayer would be shocked at the revelation. He would inquire how they are so sure of this, to which Rengoku would simply reply that that demon that Yoru killed was nowhere near as powerful to eat 40 humans all at once. What they are chasing down is something way stronger and more powerful than that. The demon slayer would look dejected after hearing this, thinking that all his investigation was for nothing. But as when Rengoku would let him know that no, there's no need for more investigation. The Mugen train will be running again tomorrow, and tomorrow night, him and Yoru will board the train and deal with the demon personally. After which Yoru would yawn and agree with Rengoku, saying that he hopes that they'll be done in time to still get one more meal from the noodle bar, before ordering once again for more food from the owner, to which the owner would happily serve them. It would be the next night, with Rengoku and Yoru buying their tickets for the Mugen train and getting ready to get on. But right then, Rengoku and Yoru would have a conversation. Yoru would remember Rengoku talking about how the slasher demon was a distraction, to which he would agree. But then he would ask that are they sure he was the only demon there, the only distraction? He wouldn't want them to both leave and then another demon would show up and wreak more havoc on this town. Rengoku would ponder on this, and then he would remember how they were talking about how this mission is a bit overkill for both of them to be going on this train. He would then say that, well, there's a very good way to satiate that concern. They could split up. One of them could stay back and the other would be on the train. The one on the train would investigate as they were supposed to do, while the other one that stayed back would patrol the city for a while, checking for any demon attacks or any clues that they might have missed while they were out yesterday dealing with that other demon. And then Yoru would add to this by saying, and once that's done, the Hashira that stayed back could get on the Kage train, which seemed to be going on the same route as the Mugen train, just a little bit later, and then group back up with the Hashira on the Mugen train, to which they both agreed with smiles on their faces. But then the question arose, who would stay back and who would go? Yoru was a bit puzzled at this, and honestly, he was content to deciding with a coin flip or maybe a game of rock, paper, scissors, to which Rengoku would just say that Yoru should stay and he should go, because Yoru is a lot better with logistics and the more overall investigative stuff, or Rengoku feels like he's just more suited for battle. To which Yoru would have no issues with this. Rengoku would get on the train, Yoru would wave to him before leaving to go patrol the town. Now, everything that happened in the Mugen Train Arc movie would happen the same way. You would have Zenitsu, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Nezuko meeting the Flame Hashira Rengoku on the train. Rengoku would slightly mention that there was somebody else with him, but he didn't mention exactly who it was. He just alluded to the fact that there was somebody else that was going to be joining him soon. So yeah, everything would happen the same way. They would all be put to sleep and they would all break out of their forced dreams. They would fight Enmu and the whole train would derail and all that. And while this was happening, Yoru would be in the town looking through the missing posters, looking for clues, patrolling the city to see if there was any demon activity going on, but he would find nothing. He would be a little bit dejected at the fact that he found nothing, because it would dawn to him that that means that he had basically left Rengoku for no good reason. But then he was still confident in Rengoku's abilities. I mean, he has seen Rengoku fight before. He's one hell of a Hashira. It would take a really strong demon, and I mean an upper moon type demon, to really bring Rengoku down, to which he didn't feel like 40 people dying at once, as horrible as that was. He didn't feel like that was upper moon activity. Immediately he concluded his activities in the town, he would quickly return back to the station, only to see the Kage train already taking off, to which, without buying a ticket, he would quickly run to the train, jumping and catching one of the railings on it. He would then jump to the roof and be content to stay there so that he would see the Mugen train from farther ahead. So as the Kage train was progressing, he was kind of beginning to get uneasy feelings. Something was wrong and he could feel it, which was then he began to smell smoke. He would get to the front of the Kage train and squint his eyes in the direction that the Mugen train was supposed to have headed, which was when he got his first glimpse of something. A derailed train car. Immediately, he would activate total concentration breathing and blast right off the train, contending to run there instead, heading towards the crash site. His mind would begin to race with thoughts, thinking of what would happen if Rengoku was dead, praying that Rengoku was still alive, that he was still kicking. He would begin to feel slightly guilty because he would start to think that Rengoku was dead, and if Rengoku was dead, then he would blame himself, because had he been there, he would have probably been able to help. As he got closer to the crash site, he began to see a clearing to which he could hear clashes of what sounded like two very powerful forces. He had determined that one of them had to be Rengoku. Rengoku still had to be alive, and as he finally got into the clearing, he could see what looked to be a final clash between Rengoku and something on the other side, which he presumed to be the demon responsible for the 40 killings. He noticed that Rengoku was beaten and injured badly. Yoru would blitz towards the demon as well, and as the demon's fist was about to protrude right through Rengoku's stomach, he would feel another blade from the other side trying to cut through his neck, to which the demon would bounce back, jumping away from the blade and Rengoku at the same time before he could land the finishing blow on Rengoku. Rengoku would huff and puff and have a mix of joy, excitement, surprise, and relief as he saw Yoru. But just then, his knees would buckle and give way as he began to fall to the ground, to which Yoru would hold him and grab him. He would let him down, put him down on the ground easily. He would then look towards the demon that Rengoku was fighting, who seemed to have a smile on his face, licking the blood off his hands. He would then ask Rengoku if he could use recovery breathing, to which Rengoku would nod and say that he's not gonna die yet, that he's still got some fight left in him. Yoru would then reply that if he has some fight left in him, that he should use all that fight he has and channel it into recovery breathing to make sure that he doesn't die. Yoru would then stand up and turn around to face the demon, and he would say that he would take it from here. But another surprise was awaiting him. He would see Tanjiro, Nezuko, and two other demon slayers that he hadn't met before. They would all run to Rengoku's side, to which Yoru would warn them to be careful and that Rengoku was seriously hurt, and that any imbalance could be the difference between life and death for him. Tanjiro would look away from Rengoku and look at Yoru in shock, not expecting him to be here. He would then ask what he was doing here, and then Yoru would clarify that he was accompanying Rengoku on this mission, after which he would ask for a situation report. He would find out from Zenitsu that Rengoku had not allowed a single person out of the 200 passengers on this train to die. Yoru would then turn to Rengoku and say, "Yup, that's definitely Kyojiro for you. A miracle worker through and through." But that is when the demon that had been pushed back would cut through the discussion, asking if he could get back to his fight, because it was such a fun fight. Yoru would glance at the demon with a side eye, before talking back to Tanjiro, saying that they would continue their discussion later. He would then turn fully to the demon once again, but this time would ask his name. The demon would refuse on account of the demon not even thinking that Yoru was strong in the first place. What would be the point of telling him his name? He can't even sense any fighting spirit from him. That if he knows what's good for him, he should let that flame Hashira behind him finish this fight, and then maybe he'll just let the rest of them live. Tanjiro would then call out to Yoru, telling him to be careful, that that's Upper Moon 3. Yoru wouldn't say anything back to Tanjiro, but then he would address the demon again, saying that if he doesn't tell him his name, he'll just address him as Moon 3. He didn't even know that there were still ranks even in the upper moons. It's kinda ridiculous if you ask me, Yoru would say. The demon would tell him to watch his tongue before he loses it, and then Yoru would just yawn as if he was disinterested by the threat. But after the yawn, with a more serious look, Yoru would ask him if he was responsible for what happened to that train. The demon would laugh and say no, that was a different demon and he doesn't want to take credit for that. Yoru would then ask them what was the demon even doing here to begin with, to which the demon would sigh and say, well, reasons don't really matter. I knew that there was somebody strong here, and I came to do what I do best. Yoru's countenance would change to a bit of an angered one, as he would say, and I assume that means killing the man behind me. You know, this is the biggest problem I have with you demons. Without rhyme, without reason, you kill for killing's sake. What exactly do lives mean to you? And as if on some sort of cue, a memory, not Akaza's own, but a memory would just flood in his head. He would be away from the Mugen train, and instead he would see a man that we all know to be Yoriichi Tsukikuni, saying the exact same things. The demon would then snap out of it before grabbing his head and grunting, asking himself what this memory was. He doesn't know that person. Wait, was it a memory of Lord Muzan's? Does Lord Muzan know this man or something? But then he would snap out of that as well, with an angry expression on his face. Akaza would push back his fist before saying, I warned you. Destructive death. Air type. And he would punch the air. But then a shockwave would blast to exactly where Yoru's head was. But then the smoke and dust would clear to reveal Yoru with his neck slightly bent, showing that he had dodged the attack by simply just moving his neck a little. Akaza would be shocked by what he saw as the smoke and dust cleared. He would mutter under his breath, Kokushibo? No, that's a human. How does that human look exactly like? There you have it, guys. That is part 2 of What If the Demon Slayer Corps had a Mugen Hashira. I know I said that this would cover the entire Mugen train arc, but that was too long. If you want to know what happens in the next part, you gotta stay tuned. It'll be coming a lot faster than before. Don't worry about it. So alright guys, see you later. This is Nighttail signing out. Peace.